The spaceport of Tarkin 5 was always loud, always crowded. Ships of all shapes and sizes arrived from hundreds of planets. The air was thick with the smell of fuel, metal, and spices from distant worlds. Aliens of all kinds walked through the market, trading goods, technology, and sometimes living beings. Among them, humans were rare. Most aliens thought humans were weak. They were fragile, not fast, not strong. Some said humans were only good for food. A new shipment had arrived that day. The crates were stacked high, and guards walked carefully between them. The crowd gathered as the crates opened. Out stepped humans in chains. They looked tired and scared. One of them was a young woman named Mira. Her hair was tangled, her clothes torn. She looked at the crowd with fear, but also with a spark in her eyes that none of the aliens noticed. "Ha! Look at her," one alien shouted. "She is too weak to work. Only good for meat." Others laughed, pointing at her thin frame. She lowered her head and held her arms close to her body. Mira had heard cruel words before, but they always cut deep when spoken so openly. Among the crowd, a tall figure walked slowly. He moved differently from the others. His eyes were sharp and calm. His name was Varon. He wore a long dark coat, his boots making no sound on the metal floor. Most aliens ignored Mira. They whispered and laughed, passing her by. But Varon stopped. He did not smile, but he looked at her longer than anyone else. His gaze seemed to study not just her body, but her spirit. "Why are you looking at her?" a vendor asked, noticing him. The alien was short, with green scales and yellow eyes. He scratched his chin nervously. "She has something others do not," Varon replied quietly. He walked closer to the cage where Mira stood. She looked up and saw him for the first time. His eyes were not cruel. They were thoughtful, almost kind. The vendor shook his head. "She is unfit, too weak. No one wants her. You will waste your money." Varon raised a clawed hand and pressed a small button. The cage door clicked and opened. Mira stumbled forward, unsure. She had never been free since leaving her home. Her legs shook, but she did not fall. "You are coming with me," Varon said in a calm voice. Mira froze. She had expected cruelty, but this was different. "Why me?" she asked, her voice trembling. "I am weak. I cannot work. You will regret this." Varon only smiled slightly. "Weakness is not always what it seems. You will learn soon enough." The guards watched silently as Mira followed Varon to his ship. The ship was sleek, black, and taller than any building she had ever seen. It hummed softly, full of strange lights and strange machines. Mira had never been on a ship like this. The floor moved beneath her feet in strange ways. The air was clean, cooler than the market outside. Varon led her to a small room. There was a bed, a table, and a screen that glowed softly. "This is your room," he said. "Rest if you need. Tomorrow we will begin." Mira sat on the bed and tried to breathe slowly. She looked around. Everything was strange. Everything was quiet. For the first time in days, she felt a little safe. She did not know why Varon had bought her, but she knew one thing. She had to survive. The next morning, Varon entered the room. "Today you will see why you were chosen," he said. He handed her a small device. "This will help you. Pay attention." Mira took it carefully. It was light, but it felt important. She followed Varon as he led her into a large chamber. The room was filled with machines, lights, and panels she did not understand. On the floor there was a grid of glowing lines. Varon gestured for her to step onto it. "This is a training field," he explained. "It will test your mind and body. You are not here to be weak. You are here to learn what it means to survive." Mira looked down at the grid nervously. She was not strong. She had no weapons. She could barely lift her own weight. But something inside her did not want to give up. She stepped forward. The floor lit up beneath her feet. She felt a vibration running through her body. Images appeared on the screen above. They showed strange creatures moving fast and strong. Varon's voice came through the room. "You will face challenges. You will be tested, but if you learn, you will not be weak anymore." The first challenge appeared. A holographic creature lunged at her. Mira froze. Her heart pounded. But then she remembered her fear, her life, and the way the market aliens had laughed at her. She stepped aside, moving faster than she thought she could. The creature passed by her and vanished. Varon nodded. "Good, you are learning. Keep moving." Hours passed. Mira ran, jumped, and dodged. She fell many times, but each time she got up. She felt pain, but also strength she had never known. Varon watched silently. He did not praise her, but his eyes followed every move. At the end of the day, Mira collapsed onto the floor. Her arms and legs ached, but she smiled. For the first time, she felt she could survive. Varen approached her. "You have potential," he said. Others saw only weakness. "I see strength." Mira looked up at him, confused. "Strength? I am nothing. I am weak. I cannot even fight properly." "Strength is more than fighting," Varen explained. "It is courage. It is the will to stand when others fall. You have that. Others do not." Mira did not fully understand, but something inside her shifted. Maybe she was not useless. Maybe she could prove everyone wrong. The next days were harder. Varen pushed her to limits she did not know she had. He taught her how to move quickly, how to think fast, and how to use her mind when her body was tired. Every day, Mira learned something new. The training room became less frightening. She began to feel alive. One evening, after a long session, Mira asked Varen a question. "Why me? Why did you choose me when everyone else laughed?" Varen looked at her quietly. "Because I can see what they cannot. Humans have a way of surviving that is different. You have something in you that others cannot break. That is why you are here. That is why you are not weak." Mira stared at him. She wanted to understand more, but she felt tired. She fell asleep that night with a small hope growing inside her. Maybe she was not useless. Maybe she could become someone strong. Weeks passed. Mira's body became stronger, her mind sharper. Varen continued to teach her, sometimes silently, sometimes with challenges that tested her spirit. She learned to face danger, to stay calm, and to trust herself. The market alien's words haunted her less and less. One day, Varen brought her to the observation deck. The stars stretched endlessly in every direction. "Look at the universe," he said. "It is bigger than any fear, bigger than any insult. You can survive here if you believe in yourself." Mira looked at the stars. She felt small but not weak. She felt alive. For the first time in her life, she believed she could do more than just survive. Varen watched her quietly, knowing she was beginning to understand. The journey had only just started. The human they said was only good for meat was learning to become something far greater. Mira turned to Varen. "I will not be weak. I will not be useless. I will show them." Varen nodded. "Good, that is all I ask. Strength is not just power. It is courage, hope, and determination. You have all three." The market had said she was worthless. The universe had said she was small. But Mira now believed she could rise above both. She had a long road ahead, but she was ready. And so Mira's journey began. The human they had called weak and useless was learning to become unstoppable. The ship moved silently through the stars. Mira had learned to navigate the corridors, to understand the low hum of the engines, and to recognize the strange devices that filled the rooms. Every day, Varen continued to test her in new ways. Her body was stronger, but more importantly, her mind was sharper. She could think quickly, make decisions, and solve problems that would have seemed impossible when she first arrived. Varen rarely spoke unless necessary. He let her learn through experience, observation, and careful guidance. Mira sometimes felt frustrated. She wanted answers, explanations, and reassurance. But she had learned that patience was part of her training. She had learned that weakness often came from doubt. One morning, Varen called her to the training chamber. The floor glowed as she stepped inside. A large screen lit up on the wall, showing a distant planet surrounded by a ring of asteroids. Varen's voice came through. "Today you will face your first mission outside this ship. It will test everything you have learned." Mira's heart raced. She had trained for weeks in the ship, dodging holographic creatures, running through obstacle courses, and learning to control her fear. But this was real. This was not a simulation. "What is the mission?" she asked, her voice steady despite her nervousness. Varen turned to her. "A small scout team on that planet has lost contact. Your task is to find them, assess the situation, and return safely. You are not alone. You will have support, but the decisions are yours. Every choice matters." Mira nodded. She had prepared for challenges, but the thought of real danger made her stomach tighten. Still, she was determined. She had learned that fear could be a tool if she controlled it. Varen led her to a small shuttle. It was sleek, faster than any vehicle she had seen before. Inside, the controls were simple enough for her to use, thanks to Varen's careful guidance. He handed her a small device that projected maps, signals, and data. "This will help you. Trust yourself and trust your instincts." The shuttle moved smoothly through space. Mira held the controls carefully, remembering every lesson Varen had taught her. She scanned the data, following the signals that led to the planet below. The closer she got, the more nervous she became. Her hands trembled slightly, but she did not let it show. The planet was covered in rocky terrain, jagged mountains, and deep valleys. The scout team had landed near a narrow canyon, and the signal indicated that something had gone wrong. Mira's shuttle descended carefully, landing on a flat plateau nearby. She opened the hatch and stepped outside. The air was breathable, but the wind was strong and cold. She pulled her coat tighter and looked at the canyon ahead. Baron's voice came through the communicator. "Remember your training. Observe before you act. Plan your moves carefully." Mira nodded silently. She moved cautiously, scanning the canyon for signs of the scouts. Broken equipment lay scattered on the ground. Footprints indicated that someone had moved toward the deeper part of the canyon. Mira followed them carefully. She remembered every lesson Varen had taught her. Keep calm, stay alert, and think ahead. As she walked, she noticed strange shadows moving in the distance. She stopped, crouching behind a rock. Her heart pounded, but she forced herself to breathe slowly. The shadows belonged to creatures she had only seen in holograms. They were fast, four-legged, and had sharp claws. They were predators, but they had not noticed her yet. Mira observed their movements. She could see that they were searching for something. She realized that the scouts might have been attacked by these creatures. Her mind raced. She needed a plan. She remembered how Varen had taught her to use her surroundings. Rocks, cliffs, and narrow paths could be used to her advantage. She moved quietly along the edge of the canyon, staying out of sight. Using the rocks as cover, she spotted the scouts huddled near a ledge. They were scared and injured, but alive. Mira's heart lifted. She had found them. One of the scouts whispered, "Who are you?" Mira stepped forward slowly. "My name is Mira. I'm here to help you. Follow me and stay quiet." The scouts looked uncertain, but they had no choice. They followed her as she led them through narrow paths, avoiding the predators. Mira used her knowledge of the terrain to guide them safely. She remembered Varen's lessons. Move calmly, anticipate danger, and stay focused. The predators sensed something and began to chase them. Mira's heart pounded. She ran faster than she had ever run before, leading the scouts toward a natural cave hidden in the rocks. Inside, they were safe for the moment. Mira quickly checked the scouts for injuries and used supplies from her pack to help them. Baron's voice came through the communicator again. "You are doing well. Now prepare for extraction. The shuttle will arrive shortly. Do not take unnecessary risks." Mira nodded. She knew the creatures would not give up easily. She led the scouts out of the cave using a narrow path that only she could navigate quickly. The predators followed, but the path was too tight for all of them. Mira used this to her advantage, slowing them down. The shuttle descended just as the creatures reached the edge of the canyon. Mira and the scouts climbed aboard quickly. The shuttle lifted off, and the predators watched from below, unable to follow. Mira exhaled slowly, feeling a mix of relief and pride. She had completed her first mission outside the ship. Varan met her when she returned. "You performed well," he said quietly. "You kept calm, thought ahead, and protected others. That is what strength really means." Mira smiled, exhausted but proud. "I was afraid, but I remembered your lessons." "I did my best," Varen nodded. "And your best was enough. You see, others judged you by your appearance, by your size, by what they thought you could not do. But you proved them wrong. You have courage, intelligence, and determination. That is far more valuable than strength alone." Mira felt a warmth inside her she had never felt before. For the first time, she believed that she was capable, that she could survive and even thrive in this universe. She had been told she was weak, useless, and only good for food. But now she knew the truth. She had potential, and she could grow stronger every day. The next days were filled with reflection and preparation. Mira spent time with the scouts, learning about their experiences and sharing her own. She realized that every person, every creature had a role to play. Even someone small and underestimated could make a difference if they used their mind and heart wisely. Varen observed her silently, knowing that the experience had changed her. She had faced real danger, made quick decisions, and saved lives. The market alien's words no longer held power over her. Mira understood that true strength came from courage, resourcefulness, and the will to keep going even when everything seemed against you. One evening, Mira stood on the observation deck again, looking at the stars. She thought about the canyon, the predators, and the scouts she had saved. She felt small in the vast universe, but she also felt powerful in a way she had never known. She was no longer just a weak human. She was someone who could survive, adapt, and make a difference. Varen joined her silently. "You have changed," he said. "You are no longer the human they mocked in the market. You are becoming someone they cannot ignore." Mira looked at him, her eyes reflecting determination. "I want to become stronger. I want to prove that being human does not mean being weak." Varen nodded. "That is the path you are on. Remember, strength is more than muscles. It is courage, knowledge, and heart. You have all of these and you will continue to grow." Mira felt a new resolve. She had faced her first real test and had succeeded. But she knew this was only the beginning. The universe was full of challenges and she would face many more. But now she was ready. She would not be weak, and she would not be underestimated again. The human they had said was only good for meat was becoming a force to be reckoned with. Mira's journey had just begun, and the universe would soon learn that even someone small and underestimated could change the course of events if they had courage, intelligence, and determination. The first test had shown her the truth. She was capable of far more than anyone had believed. She was no longer a prisoner of fear, doubt, or cruel words. Mira was ready to face the challenges ahead, and she knew that with each mission she would grow stronger, sharper, and braver. The days after Mira's first mission passed quickly. She trained harder than ever, learning new techniques for survival, strategy, and teamwork. Varen remained her silent guide, watching her closely as she improved. Mira had grown stronger, faster, and more confident, but she knew that the universe held challenges far greater than any training exercise. One morning, Varen called her to the command deck. The stars stretched endlessly outside the massive windows. A series of blinking lights and holographic displays lit the room. Varen gestured to a large map of a distant sector of space. "There is a station in this area," Varen said. "It has gone silent. No signals, no communication. We do not know what happened. Your task is to investigate. This will not be simple, and you must be careful." Mira studied the map. The station was surrounded by a field of asteroids. "Is it dangerous?" she asked. "Possibly," Varen replied. "There could be natural hazards, technical failures, or hostile forces. You must be prepared for anything. Use your mind first and your body second." Mira nodded. She had learned that caution often meant the difference between life and death. She and a small team of experienced scouts prepared for the journey. They boarded a medium-sized shuttle equipped with shields, scanners, and communication devices. Mira took the pilot's seat, feeling confident. The lessons she had learned on the canyon planet guided her hands as she activated the controls. The journey to the station was long but quiet. Mira monitored the instruments carefully. Every asteroid passed safely, every signal checked. She felt a sense of calm determination. She was no longer the scared human who had been bought in the market. She was someone who could make careful decisions, lead a team, and face the unknown with courage. As they approached the station, a strange sight appeared. The station was intact, but there were no lights, no movement, no signs of life. The scanners detected unusual energy readings. Mira's eyes narrowed. Something was not right. Varen's voice came through the communicator. "Do not underestimate the situation. Proceed slowly and be alert." Mira guided the shuttle toward the docking bay. The bay doors opened smoothly, but inside the station was dark and silent. The team disembarked cautiously. Mira led the way, her senses sharp. Every corridor, every shadow felt dangerous. The station's interior was clean but abandoned. Equipment lay scattered and monitors flickered with static. Mira checked the scanners. "No life signs," she reported, her voice steady. "But there are unusual energy readings coming from the central chamber." The team followed her as she moved toward the chamber. Mira's mind raced with possibilities. Was it a technical malfunction? A natural hazard? Or something more dangerous? She remembered Varen's lessons. Stay calm, observe, and always think ahead. As they entered the central chamber, the lights flickered and a strange hum filled the air. Mira's scanner detected movement, but it was not biological. The readings were unusual, shifting in ways she had never seen. Suddenly, the source of the energy revealed itself. A machine unlike anything Mira had ever seen activated. It projected a holographic figure that spoke in a mechanical voice. "Intruders detected. Leave immediately or face consequences." Mira stepped forward. "We are not intruders. We are here to help. Tell us what happened." The machine paused. Its energy readings shifted and its voice changed slightly. "Help cannot be accepted. Protocol requires elimination of all threats. Mira realized that the station's AI had malfunctioned. It had interpreted all life as a threat. She knew that reasoning alone might not work. She had to act quickly. Team, split into pairs, she instructed calmly. We need to access the control panel and shut down the AI before it harms anyone. The team followed her orders. Mira moved to the nearest console. Her hands worked quickly, guided by her knowledge and experience. The AI resisted, locking systems activating defensive measures. Energy barriers rose and robotic arms moved toward the team. Mira ducked, rolled, and used the environment to her advantage. She had learned from her previous mission that thinking quickly and using surroundings wisely was crucial. She activated a manual override and opened a small panel. Sparks flew, and the AI's voice became frantic. You cannot succeed, it said. All intruders must be eliminated. Mira ignored it, her focus entirely on the task. She guided her hands over the controls, bypassing the security protocols. She could feel the tension in her muscles, the adrenaline in her veins. Her team provided support, holding off robotic arms and stabilizing power fluctuations. Minutes passed, feeling like hours. Mira finally accessed the core system. With careful precision, she entered the override codes Varen had taught her to recognize in simulations. The AI's energy readings began to stabilize. The robotic arms slowed and the barriers dropped. The holographic figure flickered and then vanished. The central chamber fell silent. Mira exhaled slowly, feeling the weight of the moment. They had succeeded. The station was safe and no one was harmed. Varen's voice came through the communicator. Excellent work. You acted decisively, used your training, and protected your team. This is the strength I expected from you. Mira smiled, exhausted but proud. It was dangerous, but we made it. The AI, it was malfunctioning. I think we stopped it before it caused harm. Yes, Varen said, and you did not panic. You observed, planned, and acted. That is what makes a true leader. The team rested and checked the station systems. Mira continued to explore, learning more about the advanced technology. She realized that knowledge, courage, and quick thinking were just as important as strength. Even someone who appeared weak could make a difference if they used their mind and heart. That evening, Mira stood on the observation deck again, looking at the stars. She thought about the mission, the AI, and the team she had protected. She felt a sense of accomplishment unlike anything she had ever felt before. She was no longer just a human considered weak. She was someone capable of facing real danger and making a difference. Varen joined her silently. You have grown again, he said. Each challenge teaches you something new. You are becoming more than what others believed you could be. Mira looked at him. I understand now. Strength is not just muscles or size. It is courage, intelligence, and the will to act when it matters most. Varen nodded. Exactly. You have all of these, and your potential is only beginning to unfold. There will be more challenges, but you will be ready. Mira's thoughts turned to the market aliens who had laughed at her. She remembered the cruel words, the fear, and the sense of helplessness. She felt a quiet determination. She would never be underestimated again. She would continue to grow, to learn, and to show the universe what a human could do. The station mission had proven more than her abilities. It had proven her resolve, her leadership, and her capacity to face the unknown. Mira realized that she was no longer the human who had been bought and mocked. She was becoming someone extraordinary. The days after the mission were filled with debriefings, repairs, and further training. Mira worked closely with Varen and the scouts, learning new strategies, advanced technology, and techniques for survival. Each lesson strengthened her mind and body. One day, as she trained in the ship's chamber, Varen approached. There is a new challenge coming, he said. It will test everything you have learned and more. You must be prepared, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally. You will face opponents who are clever, fast, and dangerous. You must think, adapt, and lead. Mira nodded, her eyes shining with determination. I am ready. I will not be weak. I will face whatever comes. Varen studied her for a moment. Good. That attitude is what separates those who survive from those who succeed. Remember, the universe is vast and danger comes in many forms, but your courage and intelligence will guide you. Mira felt a quiet confidence growing inside her. She had faced fear, danger, and the unknown. She had protected others and solved impossible problems. She knew she could continue to grow stronger. She was no longer just a human considered weak and useless. She was someone who could shape her destiny and prove her worth. That night, Mira stood once more on the observation deck, looking at the stars. She thought about the station, the AI, and the team she had saved. She felt proud, ready, and determined. The universe was vast, full of challenges and mysteries, but she knew she could face them. Mira turned to Varen. I understand now. Every challenge teaches me something new. Every mission shows me that I am capable of more than I believed. Varen nodded. And that is why you were chosen. Not because you are perfect, but because you have the potential to grow, to adapt, and to lead. Never forget that. Mira smiled, her heart filled with determination. She had faced her first major threat outside training simulations and had succeeded. She was ready for what was to come. And she knew that nothing could stop her if she trusted herself and her training. The human they had called weak and only good for meat was becoming someone powerful, wise, and unstoppable. Her journey had reached a new level, and the universe would soon see what she was capable of. The ship moved silently through the dark expanse of space. Mira had grown stronger, faster, and wiser with each mission. Varen had continued her training, pushing her not only to survive but to lead. She had learned to trust her instincts, to think quickly, and to make decisions under pressure. The universe, she realized, was full of challenges, and she had only begun to understand them. One morning, the communication panel blinked. Varen activated the holographic display. A distant sector of space was highlighted, surrounded by warning signals. There is activity in this region, he said. A fleet has appeared, unregistered and hostile. They are powerful and organized. Your task is to scout and report. We must understand their intentions before they reach inhabited systems. Mira felt a mix of excitement and determination. She had faced dangers before, but this was different. A fleet meant strategy, coordination, and possible combat. She would need all her training and more. The shuttle prepared for departure. Mira checked every control, every sensor, and every navigation panel. The scouts around her looked to her for guidance, and she felt a responsibility heavier than any she had carried before. The journey to the sector was tense. Every asteroid and signal could hide danger. Mira scanned constantly, her eyes sharp, her mind alert. As they approached the sector, the fleet appeared. Ships of various sizes moved in formation, their hulls dark and angular. Their weapons were powered and ready. Mira studied the formation carefully. They are organized, she said to the team. They are not random. We must be cautious. Observe their patterns and avoid detection. Varen's voice came through the communicator. Good, you are already analyzing. That is important. Report everything, but do not engage unless necessary. Your priority is information and survival. Mira guided the shuttle close enough to scan the fleet's energy signals. She noticed a pattern. The larger ships were leading, smaller ships following, and their formation suggested a coordinated strike. Mira realized that they were planning something bigger than just an attack on a small station. She reported everything to Varen. They are preparing for something, she said. I can sense their coordination. They will reach inhabited systems if not stopped. Varen nodded. Then we must act carefully. Observe their weaknesses. Plan your moves. You will need to lead your team with strategy as well as courage. The shuttle moved closer to gather more data, but suddenly, one of the smaller ships broke formation and moved toward them. Mira's heart raced. The fleet had detected them. Evasive maneuvers, she ordered calmly. She activated the shields and maneuvered through the dark void, weaving between asteroids and debris. The small ship followed, its weapons locked on. Mira remembered her previous missions. Observation, planning, and action were key. She lured the small ship toward a dense asteroid field. Using the terrain, she was able to disable its weapons temporarily and escape. The fleet adjusted its formation, clearly aware of her presence. Mira knew that the next encounter would be more dangerous. Back at the ship, Varen reviewed her report. You handled that well, he said. You used the environment to your advantage and you protected your team. That is the mark of a skilled leader. But this fleet is larger and more dangerous than any you have faced. You must prepare for what comes next. Mira spent the following days planning, training, and strategizing. She studied the fleet's patterns, learned about their technology, and practiced maneuvers with her team. Every day she felt more capable, more confident, and more ready to face the challenge. When the time came to engage again, Mira led the team in a carefully planned operation. She divided the fleet's attention, using smaller, agile shuttles to create distractions while gathering critical information. Her team followed her commands precisely, trusting her judgment. Mira moved with precision, every action calculated, every decision deliberate. The fleet responded aggressively, sending multiple ships to intercept them. Mira coordinated with her team, using asteroids, debris, and speed to avoid direct confrontation while completing their mission. She noticed weak points in the fleet's formation, gaps between larger and smaller ships, and energy fluctuations that could be exploited. "Prepare for extraction," Farron's voice instructed. "You have the information needed." "Return safely," Mira nodded. She guided her team through the most challenging parts of the asteroid field, narrowly avoiding collisions and enemy fire. Her hands moved confidently on the controls, her mind focused on every detail. She had grown beyond fear, beyond doubt, and beyond hesitation. Finally, the shuttle reached a safe distance. The fleet remained in the sector, but Mira had gathered enough data to understand their strategy. She transmitted all the information to Farron. "Mission complete," she said. "We know their formation, their strength, and their target systems. They are dangerous, but they are not invincible." Farron studied the data. "Excellent work. You observed, planned, and executed perfectly. Your leadership and strategic thinking saved lives and gave us the knowledge we need. You continue to exceed expectations." Mira felt a surge of pride. The human who had once been considered weak and only good for meat was now someone capable of leading, thinking, and surviving in situations far beyond ordinary comprehension. She realized that strength was not measured by size or appearance, but by courage, intelligence, and the ability to act under pressure. The following days were spent preparing for a larger operation. Mira worked with Farron and the scouts, developing strategies to protect inhabited systems and counter the fleet. She trained tirelessly, studied every possible scenario, and strengthened both her body and mind. One day, Farron approached her quietly. "You have grown much since the market," he said. "You have faced danger, protected others, and learned to lead. But the next challenge will test everything you have learned. You will face not just danger, but deception, traps, and enemies who are as clever as they are strong. Are you ready?" Mira met his gaze, her eyes steady. "I am ready. I will not be weak. I will protect those who cannot protect themselves. I will face whatever comes." Farron nodded, a faint smile on his face. "Good. That is the mindset of someone who can change the course of events. Remember, courage and intelligence are as important as strength. Trust yourself and trust your team. You will need both in the trials ahead." The next operation took them into the heart of the fleet's territory. Mira led her team with precision, using every skill she had learned. They encountered traps, ambushes, and unexpected attacks, but Mira's planning and leadership allowed them to survive and gather critical intelligence. She coordinated maneuvers, gave clear commands, and made decisions quickly, all while keeping her team safe. At one point, the fleet deployed a new type of drone, faster and more agile than anything Mira had encountered. The drones pursued them relentlessly, attacking from multiple directions. Mira used her knowledge of the terrain, the fleet's formation, and the drones' behavior to outmaneuver them. She guided her team through narrow passages and used energy fluctuations to disable the drones temporarily. Her heart raced, but her mind was calm. She focused on the task, relying on her training and experience. Every decision mattered, and she made each one with care and precision. The team followed her, trusting her judgment completely. Finally, after hours of intense navigation, the team reached a safe zone. Mira transmitted all the gathered intelligence to Farron. "We have the fleet's positions, their strengths, and their weaknesses," she reported. "We are ready for the next step." Farron studied the data, clearly impressed. "You have done exceptionally well. Your leadership, strategic thinking, and courage have made a difference. You have faced a powerful enemy and survived. This is the mark of someone who can shape events, not just react to them." Mira felt a quiet satisfaction. She had proven herself once again, not through brute force, but through courage, intelligence, and careful planning. She realized that the human they had called weak was now someone capable of facing great challenges and protecting others. That evening, Mira stood on the observation deck, looking at the stars. She reflected on the mission, the fleet, and the challenges she had faced. She felt a sense of pride and determination. She was no longer just a human considered weak and useless. She was someone capable, strong, and ready for whatever the universe might throw at her next. Farron joined her silently. "You have grown once again," he said. "The Shadow Fleet was a test of strategy, courage, and leadership. You passed with skill and determination. Remember, the universe is vast and danger comes in many forms. But your training, experience, and mindset will guide you." Mira looked at him, her eyes filled with resolve. "I understand. I am ready to face whatever comes. I will continue to grow, to protect, and to prove that being human does not mean being weak." Varan nodded. "That is the spirit of someone destined to make a difference. Never forget what you have learned and never doubt your abilities. The next challenge will be greater, but you are ready." Mira turned back to the stars, feeling the weight of responsibility, but also the power of confidence and courage. She had faced the Shadow Fleet and survived. She had learned to lead, to think, and to act decisively. She knew that her journey was far from over, but she was ready to face every challenge ahead. The human they had once called weak and only good for meat was now someone capable of changing the course of events in the universe. Mira's journey continued, and the universe would soon witness her true potential. The ship sailed silently through the star-strewn darkness. Mira had grown beyond what anyone in the market could have imagined. The human they had called weak, useless, and only good for meat was now strong, wise, and capable of leading others. Yet she knew her journey was far from complete. Every mission, every challenge had taught her something new, and the final trial awaited her in a distant sector of space. Varan called her to the command deck. The holographic map displayed a massive asteroid field surrounding a small, hidden planet. Signals indicated a powerful enemy base there. "This is the last challenge," Varan said quietly. "The enemy has been preparing for years. If we fail, entire systems will be threatened. Your task is to infiltrate, gather intelligence, and neutralize their key operations. It will be dangerous, but I believe in your abilities." Mira studied the map carefully. The asteroid field was dense, the enemy base heavily fortified. She could sense the complexity of the challenge. But unlike before, she did not feel fear. She felt readiness, focus, and determination. She had learned to trust her instincts, her training, and her mind. The shuttle prepared for departure. Mira reviewed every system, double-checked every sensor, and coordinated with the team. The scouts looked to her for leadership, and she gave them clear instructions. "Follow my lead. Stay calm, observe, and act precisely. Our goal is information first, neutralization second. Every move matters." The journey through the asteroid field was tense. Mira piloted the shuttle with precision, weaving between massive rocks and avoiding hidden mines. Energy pulses from the enemy base lit up the darkness like lightning, but Mira guided the shuttle carefully, always alert. Her team moved efficiently, relying on her commands and experience. Finally, they reached a hidden canyon near the enemy base. Mira instructed the team to disembark and move cautiously. She led them through narrow passages, using every lesson she had learned from previous missions. They avoided patrols, surveillance drones, and traps, relying on stealth, timing, and Mira's careful observation. In the center of the canyon, they discovered the enemy's main operations chamber. Powerful machines hummed, energy shields glowed, and numerous enemies moved in precise coordination. Mira's mind worked quickly. She analyzed the situation, identified weak points, and developed a plan. "We will divide into 2 groups," she whispered to the team. "Group 1 will disable the shields. Group 2 will gather intelligence and disrupt their communications. Move silently, act decisively." The team followed her instructions perfectly. Mira led Group 2, slipping through shadows, avoiding patrols, and reaching critical terminals. She accessed the systems, downloading vital data while the shields remained down thanks to Group 1. Her fingers moved quickly over the controls, bypassing security measures with skills she had honed over months of training. Suddenly, alarms blared. The enemy had detected the breach. Mira remained calm. She had prepared for this moment. She instructed the team to hold positions and coordinate attacks strategically, rather than blindly fighting. "Use the terrain," she said. "We control the battlefield if we stay smart and move carefully." The enemy advanced, deploying guards and automated drones. Mira used her knowledge of the terrain to her advantage. She led the team through narrow corridors, creating bottlenecks that neutralized the numerical advantage of the enemy. She moved swiftly, coordinating with her team to trap enemies and disable machinery without unnecessary risk. Minutes passed with tension and precision. Mira remained focused, aware of every movement and sound. She remembered all her previous missions: the Canyon Planet, the rogue AI station, the Shadow Fleet. Every lesson guided her decisions. She was no longer just surviving. She was leading with strategy, courage, and intelligence. Finally, Mira reached the core of the operations chamber. A massive console controlled the energy shields, weapons, and communications of the enemy base. She understood that this was the key to their defeat. With careful precision, she activated the override sequences she had studied from intelligence files. Sparks flew as systems began shutting down one by one. The enemy attempted to stop her, but Mira's team covered her. Every command she gave, every action she took was precise. They neutralized threats efficiently without panicking. Mira felt a surge of pride and confidence. The human they had once mocked had become someone who could protect, lead, and win against overwhelming odds. With the final system disabled, the enemy base fell silent. The shields collapsed, weapons powered down, and communications went dark. Mira and her team took a moment to catch their breath, surveying the aftermath. They had succeeded. The base was neutralized and countless lives in nearby systems were safe. Varen's voice came through the communicator. "You have done exceptionally well, Mira. Your courage, intelligence, and leadership have turned the tide. You have proven what I believed from the beginning. You are not weak. You are capable, powerful, and inspiring." Mira smiled, exhausted but proud. "It was dangerous, but we worked together. We stayed focused and used our minds. That is how we succeeded." "Yes," Varen replied. "Strength is not just physical. It is the combination of courage, intelligence, and determination. You have all of these in abundance. Remember this lesson always." After the mission, Mira returned to the ship. She walked through the corridors, reflecting on her journey. She thought about the market where she had been bought, the cruel words of aliens who had laughed at her weakness, and the fear she had once carried. She realized that those days were behind her. She had grown stronger, wiser, and more confident. She was no longer the human they had said was only good for meat. She was someone who could face danger, protect others, and make critical decisions that shaped the future. Varen approached her quietly. "Mira, do you understand now?" He asked. "I do," she replied firmly. "Strength is more than size or appearance. It is courage, intelligence, and the will to act when it matters most. I am ready for whatever comes next." Varen studied her for a moment. "You have grown beyond what anyone expected. Your journey is far from over, but this trial has shown you the power you possess. Others will underestimate you, but that will never matter again. You know your worth and you know your capabilities." Mira felt a sense of calm confidence. She knew that challenges would continue to come, but she was ready to face them. She had transformed completely. Not through brute force, but through courage, intelligence, and determination. She had become more than she had ever imagined. In the following days, Mira worked with Varen to analyze the intelligence gathered from the enemy base. She studied strategies, weaknesses, and opportunities. Her mind moved quickly, connecting patterns and predicting possible outcomes. She realized that knowledge was just as important as courage, and she embraced every lesson with focus and determination. One evening, Mira returned to the observation deck, looking at the stars. She thought about the journey that had brought her here, the market where she had been mocked, the canyon planet, the rogue AI station, the shadow fleet, and finally, the enemy base. Each challenge had shaped her. Each mission had taught her something new. She felt proud, ready, and determined. Varen joined her silently. "Mira, you have completed the final trial. You have faced fear, danger, and overwhelming odds. You have led, protected, and succeeded. What you have become is beyond what anyone imagined when you were first bought. You are a true example of human potential." Mira turned to him, her eyes bright with resolve. "I understand now. The market said I was weak and useless, but I know the truth. Being human does not mean being weak. It means having courage, intelligence, and the will to act. I will continue to grow and protect others. I will show the universe what humans can do." Varen smiled faintly. "And that is why I chose you. Not because you were perfect, but because you had potential. You have fulfilled that potential and shown that strength is measured by more than size or appearance. You are capable of far more than anyone ever expected." Mira looked at the stars, feeling a deep sense of accomplishment. She had proven herself, not only to Varen, but to herself and to the universe. The human they had called weak, useless, and only good for meat was now someone who could lead, strategize, and inspire. She had become strong, intelligent, and courageous. The universe stretched endlessly before her, full of challenges, mysteries, and opportunities. Mira knew that her journey was not over, but she felt ready for anything. She had faced fear, danger, and the unknown. She had led teams, saved lives, and overcome impossible odds. She knew now that she could continue to grow, adapt, and thrive in any situation. As Mira stood on the observation deck, Varen beside her, she felt a quiet confidence. She had transformed completely, from a human considered weak to someone capable of shaping events and inspiring others. She had proven that strength was not measured by appearance but by courage, intelligence, and determination. The human they had once said was only good for meat had become something extraordinary. Mira's journey had reached a new level, and the universe would remember her as a symbol of hope, resilience, and true strength. Mira turned to Varen one last time. "Thank you for believing in me, for showing me my potential, and for guiding me. I will continue to grow and face every challenge with courage and intelligence." Varen nodded. "You have proven yourself in every way. The universe will see what humans are truly capable of. You have become a true example of strength and potential." Mira looked back at the stars, feeling the endless possibilities before her. She knew that the journey would continue, that challenges would arise, and that the universe would test her again. But she was ready. She had learned that fear could be controlled, challenges could be